Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another live episode of the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast with me, your host, Harry Symeou. A second episode of the day coming to you live on Monday evening. Not because there's any major breaking news, not because there's anything really urgent that I need to get out there, but just because I've been sitting with my head buried in my laptop all day, trying to put together a new show reel for the new season. I've been going through commentary clips. I've been going through EFL games that I covered. I've been going through Arsenal games that I've covered, trying to piece together some kind of show reel that I can use over the course of the summer in some of the conversations that I'm having. And I feel like in doing that, which isn't a difficult task, but it's a very time-consuming one, I've started to kind of like, I've tended to throughout the day keep going off on like tangents of thought. So like 1 minute, I'm fully focused and engrossed in what I'm supposed to be doing. And the next minute, I'm sitting there thinking about and worrying about transfers. And it's got me thinking. I've been thinking all day about this summer window, about some of the players that we're linked with, about how much these players improve us as a team, about how much we can realistically expect over the course of the summer in terms of money to be spent. We touched on it on the recent pod that we did. We talked about that rumor going around, the £200 million war chest thing. It was only a matter of time, as I said, before somebody wheeled that out. But the window is officially open now. And while I'm not losing my head or majorly concerned by the fact that we haven't completed any deals yet because it is incredibly early in the window still, I am starting to think ahead, and I'm starting to worry a little bit about a couple of aspects of this transfer window and about a couple of things that could potentially happen. So I'm normally the guy that says, don't worry about something before it's actually happened. Try not to. Try to be calm, cool, collected. But I've got to be honest, I've had some thoughts today that have concerned me a little bit, and I felt the best outlet, the best way to make myself feel better and move on and park all of this and put my feet up and enjoy my evening would be to share it with you guys, the amazing Chronicles of a Gooner community. Big hello to everybody who's in the live chat right now. Hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. Hope you have a great evening. You might be listening to this a week later, whenever it is that you're tuning in. I hope everything is good. Hope everything is going well. I'm sipping on a nice cup of Greek coffee because having had my head buried in the laptop all day, I really could do with a bit of an energy boost. So there's a couple of bits that I want to do on this episode. I want to bring you up to speed with what Sami Mokbel has had to say with regards to the Gyökeres Sesko thing, because it feels like we're going from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. And we talked about it on the most recent pod. We said that, maybe, we're in talks with both. I don't think we're going to sign both. I think that's incredibly unlikely. But being in talks with both makes a lot of sense. And what Sami Mokbel has said is that his information is that Arsenal are seeking to understand what the framework would look like for both of these deals before taking a final decision on who it is that they want to push for. Again, it feeds into what we've been saying about Andrea Berta for a bit now, which is that his strategy means that he will go out and he will open lots of different conversations. That means that the rumor mill is going to be in full swing. It's going to be circulating. It's going to be crazy. And we've just got to kind of take that on the chin and understand that that's the way it's going to be. Not get too high, not get too low when it comes to transfer rumors, et cetera, and just take it in our stride and see what happens at the end of the day. So Sami Mokbel's latest information is that Arsenal are seeking to understand the framework of both a deal for Viktor Gyökeres and a deal for Benjamin Sesko. They will then consider their options and decide who it is that they're going to push for. He doesn't say this, but I think the idea of signing both of them, very far-fetched, isn't going to happen. We've got too much other work to be doing in this transfer window. Also, there were reports that came out earlier today, just after Sod's Law. We recorded the morning podcast where people were talking about Joan Garcia It looks like he is going to end up signing for Barcelona. It's said that Arsenal are not willing to pay the player's release clause because they've got David Raya already. I mean, surely we'd have known that we've got David Raya going into summer, but you get the point. Like, I think Arsenal just have a limit on what they're willing to pay on a second choice goalkeeper, basically, who isn't really going to get much of a look in. Not while David Raya is fit, not while David Raya is available. We saw it happen to Aaron Ramsdale. Why would you go and put yourself in a position where you've got pressure again and there's not a clear number one? Because listen, Joan Garcia, I don't think he's as good as David Raya, but I also think he's better than Neto, for example, who would have come in fully in the knowledge that he was going to be a number two. Whereas Joan Garcia is young, ambitious, desperate to progress and kick on. I don't think he would have accepted that role as willingly. Let's go into the live chat. Guna Cole says, hit the likes, people. Says he hits the likes even when he doesn't know what I'm saying. Love that. Thank you. He also goes on to say on Berta's approach, it's how you do business. Need a plumber? You don't call one guy. You shop around to get the best deal while getting the job done. Standard, I would think. North London Forever Steve says, what makes Greek coffee different? I guess it comes in a packet with Greek writing on it, and we basically, I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it's called in English, but we put it in a little thing. We hold it over the gas, put the water in, stir the coffee, hold it over the gas until it's about to shoot up, and then that when it's ready. There's no milk in it. I have sugar in mine, but you don't have to. But it looks like this. Hold on, don't want to spill it all over my. There we go. Can I show you? There you go. It's a bit like an espresso. I think that's probably the easiest way to describe it. Daniel says, when Andrea Berta does his weekly food shop, I bet he fills up his trolley at both Tesco's and Sainsbury's before deciding which one to order from. I love that. Alex Jones says, I can't believe I managed to catch you live. Good to see you, mate. I know our routine is 10 a.m. now, UK time. That was the one that I've been able to make stick. So we're going to continue with that. But during the transfer windows, whenever we've got time, if there's something to talk about, I'm not against jumping on and doing an extra stream. And this is the great thing about the summer, right? With less football for me to cover, well, at the moment, no football for me to cover, I've got way more time to be putting into this, which I absolutely love. Kevin Levy says, Bet365 have made Liverpool favourites for Gyökeres. That's interesting. Henry says, I could get used to this twice in one day. Keep up the great work. Thank you very, very much, mate. Okay, look. We'll come to questions and stuff a little bit later on because I want to get into the bulk of what it is that I'm here to talk about. And I think maybe a good way to do this would be to open up an FB Ref page, because I'm pretty sure on FB Ref you can do comparisons, can't you? So if let's try and figure this out while we're live. Apologies if you're listening. You're probably thinking, what the hell is this guy doing? So there we go. Stathead/compare. Player comparison. Okay, so in our player comparison, we are going to put Benjamin Sesko. We are going to put Kai Havertz, and there's a reason for this. Bear with me. And we are going to put Viktor Gyökeres. Those are the three players put into this comparison tool, right? Let's take him out. Right, so we've got three players in there. Sesko, Havertz, and Gyökeres. Get results. Okay, let's see what we get here. Okay, right. Let me zoom. Do I want to zoom in? Do I want to zoom out? I don't know what I want to do here. Hold on. Just figuring this out. Sorry. It doesn't really work, really, because... hold on. This is career. Can I change the criteria here? Because... Okay, I think I can. Hold on. So let's do it based on the 24-25 season, yeah? Because otherwise it gets messy because the players are at different ages and it just all becomes a bit all over the place. So forget that for a second. Let me just edit the criteria. So we're going to do the 24-25 campaign. Now, obviously, there's going to be caveats to this comparison because of the fact that, you know, Kai Havertz has been injured and all the rest of it. But you know what? Kai Havertz only played 10 games less across all competitions. than Sesko. Is that all competitions or is that the league? Do you know what? Let me just tell you what I'm going to tell you, man, because I'm going to just drive you mad to trying to fix the filters and sort it all out. Right. So I've been thinking today, we've got Viktor Gyökeres that we're talking to and whom we are exploring the possibility of signing. We've got Benjamin Sesko. How much better are these guys, in your opinion, than Kai Havertz? This is what I've been thinking about today. And feel free to tell me in the chat that they're miles better and you don't even think this is an issue. But how much better are they? Because if we go by this here, and I'm just showing you. So, all right. So we're going by domestic leagues only, okay? Forget the Champions League. Forget all the rest of it, right? Let me share this page with you so you guys can see what I'm reading off as well. It will make probably a lot more sense that way. Hold on a second. Here we go. Player comparison on FB Ref. And we've got, on that player comparison, we've got Benjamin Sesko, we've got Kai Havertz, and we've got Viktor Gyökeres. So how much better are these guys than Kai Havertz is my question to you. Benjamin Sesko played 33 league games, started 30 of them, 2,380 minutes, and he managed 13 goals in that time. Kai Havertz, playing in a better league, but okay with a better team, and obviously he's a little bit older, has managed 9 goals in 23 games. So in 10 games less, he's only scored 4 goals less. So if he had scored 1 in every 2, even at a slightly lesser rate than that, he would have outperformed Benjamin Sesko in terms of goal scoring. Now, you can look at that in one of two ways. Some people will look at that and go, you know, the Premier League is much harder than the Bundesliga, a league that is notoriously easier to score in. And, you know, that means that actually there's some concern and there's some issues here. Others will look at it differently and they'll say Kai Havertz is supposed to be an experienced and seasoned pro, whereas somebody like young Benjamin Sesko is still developing, is still learning. If we look at assists, Sesko's got 5 assists in 33 games. Havertz has got 3 assists in 23 games. You can make the case either way, but my point is that is there that much difference between the two of them in terms of what they're currently outputting? And the answer to that is no. I think that Benjamin Sesko has a lot of the tools and a lot of the, a lot of the potential to be able to go on and become a real cold-blooded killer in front of goal. And by God, is that what we've been missing for such a long time. So I'm not saying that he won't go on to be better than Kai Havertz. What I'm saying is that right now, does Sesko move the needle for us? Do we bring in a player that raises the bar at Arsenal if we sign Benjamin Sesko so far above Kai Havertz's head that we end up in a position where we're much more likely to go on and win silverware? Or does he come in at a similar level? And then does the fact that you now have 2 of them and no over-reliance on any one of them, and that they can share that responsibility and share that burden, all the while Benjamin Sesko is developing in the background, does the 2 of them being there give us enough to raise the bar of the team? That's the kind of question I'm asking here. Because let me tell you this, the more I think about it, the more I think about the idea of signing Benjamin Sesko, the more I believe that if he does come in, he is not going to start every single game from the beginning. The more I feel he will sit and learn and develop, and he will get his fair share of minutes because we want to compete on multiple fronts, right? So whoever plays for us is going to get a lot of game time. But I really, honestly, genuinely do believe that if we sign Benjamin Sesko, if he's the one that comes in, he will at least at the beginning be sharing the role with Kai Havertz. And that's going to annoy people. Because what's going to happen is Kai Havertz is going to start games. Kai Havertz is going to miss a chance. And then Arsenal fans are going to turn around and say, but we've got a 70-odd million quid striker sitting on the bench. Why is Kai Havertz still playing up front? That will be the response if that's the way that the situation plays out. I think for me, the difference between them is not that big. The difference between them is not very big at all. And so it depends on whether you believe that having both of them levels us up. And then we go back to the conversation that we had at the sort of end of the last summer transfer window, where it was, okay, well, have we raised the ceiling or have we raised the floor of the squad? And a lot of people felt that we'd raised the floor of the squad in that we now had more players that could play to a certain level. But in terms of breaking through that ceiling and going on to that next level, I think it's fair to say with hindsight, looking back, we didn't achieve that during the last summer transfer window. Now, if I look at Viktor Gyökeres, and again, you've got to factor everything in, league he's playing in, team he's playing in, etc., etc. He's got 33 matches played in the 24-25 campaign, league matches that is, started 31 out of 33, played 500 minutes more than Benjamin Sesko, but he's got 39 goals in comparison to Benjamin Sesko's 13. So he's got 26 more league goals in the same number of appearances. So when people say that Gyökeres coming in, it's a ceiling raiser, I'm okay with that, because this guy has shown on paper, even though I think that figure is a little bit overbloated just because of the league that he's playing in. And I think if he comes to the Premier League, he might get 20 goals in the league. But 20 goals in the league for a striker is still something that we haven't been able to get near really in recent years. So that is still good enough to raise the level at Arsenal Football Club. But I don't think that the 39 goals he scored in the Portuguese league translates to 39 goals in the Premier League, is the point I'm trying to make. So here's my thing. I feel like we're going to learn a lot about what the plan for Kai Havertz is next season, depending on what we do with regards to these two strikers, because Benjamin Sesko would come in with the future in mind, yes, of course, and with the potential and the ability to go on and become a better player over the years. No question about that. But we need to focus on today, not tomorrow anymore. And I feel like I've said that a hell of a lot recently, but it really does ring true the more I think about this stuff and the more I kind of mull over it. You know, I'm lying there at night thinking about Sesko or Gyökeres, which one? And I'm actually quite okay with the fact that Arsenal are saying, look, let's understand what it's going to take to get both of these players, and then we'll take it from there and we'll figure out what the right thing to do is. I'm comfortable in that. I think that's the right way to do it. I think that would show that the club are doing their due diligence on whichever one it is they end up going and getting. So I'm fine with that. But I just think with Sesko, if we're talking about the immediate short term, I don't know that he raises the bar. I think he comes in and he supports Kai Havertz, and Kai Havertz supports him, whichever way around you want to look at it. But I think the benefit of bringing Sesko in is that we'd be developing a player for the future who will, I really do believe, get better. But we're not putting as much pressure on him as we would if we signed Gyökeres, because I think Gyökeres' record would demand that he plays every week, and his age would demand that he plays every week, and the fee that we're going to pay for him would demand that he plays every week. With Sesko, yeah, the fee's going to be big, but he's a young man. And so it depends what you think is the winning combination. Is it a combination of Havertz and Sesko sharing that burden, sharing that responsibility of scoring the goals and leading the line for Arsenal between them? Or do you bring in Viktor Gyökeres? Because let me tell you this. I'd be shocked if Viktor Gyökeres was to sign for Arsenal knowing that he was going to share the role with Kai Havertz. Whereas if Benjamin Sesko did that, I wouldn't be too surprised. So yeah, let's see how this pans out. But as I say, I've been thinking all day about this stuff, and I've not just been thinking about, what it looks like in that centre forward position. I also want to do a comparison between another couple of players, because obviously we heard that Barcelona have entered the race to sign Thomas Partey, that they've held talks with these people. I did say earlier that it could well be a case that, they've been contacted by Thomas Partey's representatives in a bid for them to kind of generate the best possible deal and all the rest of it. Not entirely sure, but I wanted to do a similar comparison between Thomas Partey and Martin Zubimendi, because again, and forgive me, there'll be people that call this blasphemy and don't agree with me and disagree with me and will tell me that I'm being negative. I do get that sometimes, but then I'm talking about the striker situation. I'm saying, is Sesko a massive upgrade on Havertz? Is 21-year-old Benjamin Sesko today a huge upgrade on Kai Havertz? Not really. So the pair of them are going to be sharing the role at the beginning. Viktor Gyökeres feels like an upgrade in terms of his goal scoring capabilities, but there are downsides to that deal in that he's a bit older and all the rest of it. Move into the midfield now, where again, it's a question of, do you want to raise the floor or do you want to raise the ceiling? And I think we're definitely raising the floor in that I think Zubimendi is an upgrade on Jorginho. But is Zubimendi an upgrade on Thomas Partey currently? Now, they're at different stages in their careers. They're at different ages. But again, I'm not thinking about what's the best thing for 2-3 years down the line. I'm thinking about what the best thing is for the here and now. That's really, really important to me because I'm desperate to see Arsenal be successful today. So let's compare those two. Thomas Partey played 35 league games for the Arsenal this season, 31 of them in which he started. Martin Zubimendi played 36 for Real Sociedad and started 33 of them. They played a similar number of minutes. Martin Zubimendi probably played about 170 minutes more overall than Thomas Partey. But when I'm going to share these statistics with you and stuff, it is important to note that Thomas Partey played a fair few games at right fullback as well. So that does skew the figures a little bit. But in terms of goals, Thomas Partey has 4. Martin Zubimendi has 2. Assists, Thomas Partey has 2. And Martin Zubimendi has 1. So in terms of those really basic statistics, Thomas Partey has produced double what Martin Zubimendi's produced from that deeper lying midfield position. In terms of passing, Thomas Partey's completed way more passes. He's completed 1,678 passes versus the 1,482 that Martin Zubimendi has completed. But Thomas Partey is playing in a team that is more dominant in their domestic league. And so, yeah, you got to take that into consideration. Pass completion, Thomas Partey is at 87.4%. Now, I don't mind when a more attack-minded midfield player's pass completion rate is a little bit lower because I think you have to take risks in the final third. You have to be bold in what you're doing. You have to try do things that are a little bit out of the ordinary in times in order to try and break down defenses. So your pass completion rate is going to be lower. If you sit at the base of a midfield, your pass completion rate needs to be really strong. And Zubimendi's is good, 83.6%, but Thomas Partey's is better at 87.4%. If you look at the types of passes that they play, and this is really interesting to me. And I'll just move on to through balls. Thomas Partey has played more through balls, which are completed passes sent between the back of defenders and into space. That's what they're defined as on FBref. He's played more. He's played 3 times the amount that Martin Zubimendi has of them. So he gets you moving forward. Defensive actions, Thomas Partey, more tackles, more number of players tackled, more tackles in the defense. Zubimendi's made more tackles in the defensive third. Partey's made more in the middle third, and Partey's made more in the attacking third as well. It's really, really interesting stuff. Like, again, the Thomas Partey thing, you don't know how long his level is going to stay where it is now because, one season he's fit, one season he's injured. You just don't know what you're going to get with Thomas Partey. So I completely understand why the chat would, why the club, I'm getting distracted by the chat, why the club would look at it and go, yeah, I don't want to give him a long-term contract because we don't know how long this is going to last. Is it sustainable? That's the big question, isn't it, around Thomas Partey? But keeping Thomas Partey is a good thing, I think, for 1 year, maybe with +1 on the end of it. And so my point that I was making about the strikers, I think is valid in the conversation around the midfield as well. Zubimendi, definite upgrade on Jorginho. But is he an upgrade on Thomas Partey currently? Again, a bit like Sesko, I think he's got the potential to go on and be that in the years to come. But is he that right now? And then again, are we talking about a player that comes in and raises the floor of the squad, but doesn't necessarily currently raise the ceiling too much? That's kind of where I'm at. So I'm happy that, we seem to be exploring a lot of deals, and I'm happy that we seem to be quite active. Whether that's going to result in multiple transfers, we don't know at the moment, but we know that Andrea Berta is out there. We know that we're talking to people. We know that we're discussing potential deals with clubs. All of that is great. But I think we're at a point now where we need to go back to focusing on raising the ceiling rather than raising the floor. We raised the floor last summer. The ceiling wasn't raised and we fell short. Okay, there were multiple reasons why that was the case, multiple factors, etc., etc. I get all of that, and I've been the first to kind of make that point and make those excuses, if you want to call them that. But I think we're at the toughest stage now in terms of the recruitment, because I think the better you get as a team, the more you progress as a club, the smaller the pool of players that's available to you that would genuinely and guarantee an improvement in your side, the smaller that pool of players gets. And we're at that place now where I look around and I'm like, okay, how many strikers out there actually really do improve us and take us to the next level? The only one, I think, no, in fact, there's two in my opinion. The only two that I look at and think, if we signed you, we are definitely better than we were last season, are Alexander Isak, who we're not going to get, and Julian Alvarez, who, in my opinion, is right up there, but we're not going to get. You look at wingers, and I know that we all agree that Martinelli could be upgraded on, that Leandro Trossard could be upgraded on. We all agree on that. But how many of the wingers that we're talking about are actually definitive upgrades? Nico Williams has had a rubbish season. So do you look at him and go, he's a definite upgrade on Martinelli? Do you look at Semedo and say he's definitely, Semenyo, I beg your pardon. Do you look at Semenyo and go, he's definitely the guy? I don't know. And that's the point I'm trying to make. When you get to this stage in your development, the final step is the hardest step to take, because there are less and less players out there that genuinely come in and improve your team. So I'm a little bit worried about whether or not we're actually going to be able to break that ceiling and raise it even higher. Now, I'm not making excuses early doors, because I think we've got to go and have a big window. I don't think there's any way of dancing around that. Like AJ says in the chat, for me, Harry, Barcola or Rodrigo, agreed. Both of those are upgrades, but can you get hold of either one of them? That's going to be the big challenge, isn't it? The big difficulty. So my worry about this summer is that there's so much expectation around it, and there's so much pressure on Arsenal to go out and improve the team. And I don't think it's as straightforward as people believe. I don't think if you sign a still quite raw Benjamin Sesko, all of a sudden Arsenal have definitely improved. I don't understand why some people are really anti it, and I don't understand why some people are really dead against it. I'm kind of in the middle on this. I would pick Gyökeres because I think it's more of a sure thing. I've said that time and time again. And I'm not going to write Benjamin Sesko off before he's come in and we've had a chance to see what he can do. But looking at the numbers that I've just showed you, is he currently that much better than Kai Havertz at centre forward, if at all? Now, if you believe that the pair of them sharing the role makes us as a squad stronger and therefore raises the level of the team, generally speaking, that's a valid argument to make, because I do think it's helpful for that burden to be shared. I do. But yeah, it's really, really tough to keep on improving every single year, every single summer. We haven't done it recently, and I'm hoping we can do it this time. Big shout out to Dan Potts. Good to see you in the chat, mate. Good to see you there. It says big up to the chat. Smash the likes. Yes, guys, please do. And make sure you give Dan Potts a subscribe over on Football's 12th Man as well. Fantastic channel. Lots of great debates on there. I do enjoy the late night streams. But I'm about to go to bed and I scroll through YouTube and I see they're streaming. Sometimes I hop on for a bit and get a bit agitated in the comment section, go back at a couple of them and then go off to snooze land. Okay, let's take some of your thoughts and some of your questions on this topic, on this subject. Am I justified in my concern, in my regret? Not regret. Regret's the wrong word. Am I justified in my concern about how easy it's going to be for Arsenal to raise that level? Let's take some of you guys' thoughts in the live chat box. Guna Colt, I'm assuming talking about Benjamin Sesko here, says he isn't raw. His ball striking, carrying of the ball, headers, movement in the box are levels above Havertz. 21-year-olds like him have played more football than 25-year-olds 10 years ago. I get what you're saying, but the numbers don't exactly jump out at you, do they? Like, if we're being brutally honest about it, like Benjamin Sesko, 13 goals in the league this season. 13 goals in 33 games, 30 starts. Kai Havertz got 9 in 21 starts. In terms of the expected goals, I'm just having a look at this now. Benjamin Sesko's XG was 10 and he's got 13. So he's outperformed that by 3, which is pretty good. Kai Havertz has underperformed his XG. But how much do you read into XG and how much you just look at the simple fact of putting the ball in the back of the net? It all depends on what lens you look at it through, right? But I don't look at Sesko's numbers and go, that's a sure thing. Because I always feel like when you come to the Premier League, your numbers that you've put up somewhere else are not necessarily that great an indicator of how you're going to fare in our league. So if I've sat there and told you that Viktor Gyökeres scoring 39 goals in 33 league games in the Portuguese top flight is not going to translate into the Premier League anywhere near that, I think at best he gets 20 in the league, then I can't sit there and ignore that same point when I'm talking about Benjamin Sesko, who also plays in a league I feel it's easier to score in. So Benjamin Sesko, if he's got 13 in the Bundesliga, what's he going to get in the Premier League? 7, 8? I don't know. I'm just speculating. I'm thinking out loud with you guys as my company in the live chat. That's just how I'm feeling today. And hopefully, it's not a feeling that lasts, but I'm a little bit worried about how we really kind of move the needle. And I don't know if it is about going and getting that wow factor player or if it's just bolstering the squad so much and having enough options that, we can sort of just make it work that way. I don't know. Boston says this is another Jesus versus Isak debate again. We went for Jesus and we missed out on the potential that turned out to be the best striker in the land. Okay, I get that. And I think as a football club, you've got to take risks. And I think as a football club, you've got to sometimes trust in your instincts, trust in those who are employed to scout, to identify talents, to figure out whether or not they're the right players. For sure. I'm not saying the numbers that they've put up previously are the be all or end all. The numbers they've scored previously do not really give you a clear line as to where their ceiling is. But by that same token, you can't look at it and be certain it will be a sure thing. Alexander Isak's a great example. He scored a really low volume of goals, by the way, in the season prior to joining Newcastle United. And I remember talking about it on the show and saying, I really like this player. Like, I like what he stands for. I love the trickery, the skills, the elegance with which he plays, but the numbers aren't there. And so even though I, at the time, would have probably tried my luck and tried to get him for something lower than the release clause, and if you got knocked back, you got knocked back, I understood why the Arsenal walked away from that. I did. And I don't want to be one of these hindsight merchants that goes back and goes, well, you made a mistake. It's like back in the day, Arsenal had Andy Cole. And they didn't stick with Andy Cole. Those of you that are a bit older will remember Andy Cole, one of the Premier League's greatest ever strikers. They didn't stick with Andy Cole. Andy Cole went on to play for other clubs, most notably Manchester United, and was outstanding. Nobody thought that Andy Cole would get to that level when he was at Arsenal. So, that's just the way these things go sometimes. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and we have the benefit in our position of being able to judge with hindsight. But as a football club, you don't have that luxury. You just don't. He made one appearance for us, Andy Cole. went out on loan before leaving us twice, to Fulham and to Bristol City. Had a decent period at Bristol City, then went to Newcastle, and then went to Manchester United and Blackburn, and the rest was history. So yeah, let's see. What else have we got? Ben Will says, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know who will guarantee us being better. Gyökeres and Sesko at the end of the day are both risky. I agree with that. Kevin Frank says, Kai's a better finisher than Benjamin Sesko. Kai had scored 17 goals at the same age in the Bundesliga and has a better average now. I don't know if he has a better average now, just looking at those numbers. Shebe says, great stream, Harry, but I feel that we get Gyökeres, Xavi, Simmons, and Gittins. All are available at decent prices. We can lift the title and hit the Champions League final at a minimum. That'd be nice. Just scrolling through the chat. There's a lot of you that really do believe that Sesko's better than Kai Havertz right now. If he is, fair play, I'll hold my hands up. But based on the evidence I've seen, I'm not sure that's the case today. Gary says Sesko's a better footballer than Havertz, Harry. I know his numbers aren't that, but he's been asked to be the creator for Openda as well as bringing others into play. He won't have to do that with us. I disagree with that because I think actually one of the primary roles of Mikel Arteta's centre forwards is to bring other people into the game. It's why he signed Gabby Jesus. It's why he went with Kai Havertz, because those are qualities that those players have. And the common criticism they get is that actually in front of goal, they're not lethal enough. They're not clinical enough. I think we need someone clinical now. And I'm hoping that if we get Benjamin Sesko, he is that. But I don't think you can dismiss the importance in Mikel's mind of the striker being really good in link-up play and facilitating others. Andrew says, I'm a massive fan of Kai, but has Havertz ever had a run in the team in his actual position as a central attacking midfielder in a 4-2-3-1 since he came to the club? No, because we don't play like that. So, again, I think in an ideal world, that's where he plays, just off a striker, like a second striker. But our system doesn't allow for that unless we adjust it. And this is what we've been talking about a lot with Zubimendi as well. What if we end up with a situation where instead of playing, the sort of number 6 with the 2 8s, we end up playing with a flat central midfield 2 of Rice and Zubimendi. I've always felt like to get the best out of Zubimendi, he's going to need a bit of protection from the likes of Declan Rice. So that doesn't feel wild to me. But then there'll only be space in the team for one of Odegaard or Havertz, won't there? If you go that way. And who is the one that misses out? It's another question. Wayne, thank you so much, mate, for your super chat. Really, really do appreciate it. It says, thought, Harry, have to remember Sesko plays in a team bottom of the table in chances created, and he outperforms his XG in a 2-striker system. Yeah, for sure. The context in which they're playing is massive. It's really important. And I tried my best when we were going through that segment of the conversation to make sure I highlight that. But I'm still, look, let me summarize where I'm at before I let you guys go. And actually, before I do that, if you haven't done so already, leave a like on the video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Really, 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 really does help. Appreciate all the love and support. If you're an audio listener, don't forget to leave us a review, whether that be on Apple or on Spotify or whatever. Let me summarize then where I'm at. In fact, there's a super chat just come through. Let me take this first and then we'll do that summary. Highbury Ultra, thank you so much, mate, for your kind donation. Really appreciate it. He says, fans underestimate the importance of the environment. A lot of top players in the Premier League over the years were not win-now signings. Think about Salah, KDB, etc., etc. They were platformed correctly, and it's down to translation more than anything. That's a really good point, because you raise some really good examples there of players that have come into the Premier League, not necessarily with the greatest reputations the first time around anyway, in Kevin De Bruyne's case. And same with Mo Salah, I guess, as well. He was at Chelsea, wasn't he? And then he went off and came back. You're right to highlight that. That's a really, really good point. But I think Arsenal are at the point now where they're just missing that final piece. And the final piece it's really difficult to put your finger on what or who exactly that is. There's only one or two strikers, as I mentioned already, in my mind that I would say are definitely the final piece. But if those two players are unattainable, Alexander Isak is unattainable. Julian Alvarez is going to be very, very difficult to get from Atletico Madrid, given what they paid for him last summer and the season he's had. But outside of that, everyone else is a gamble. Everybody else is us taking a risk and a roll of the dice. And let's hope we get that roll of the dice right. It falls our way, of course. But I can't help but feel that Sesko today isn't that much better than Kai Havertz today. Hopefully I'm wrong. And I also don't think that as good as Viktor Gyökeres looks, those numbers that he produced playing for Sporting are translatable to the Premier League. So, yeah, that's why I'm a little bit worried. And I feel the same about the midfield as well, as I've kind of expressed. Feisty Hacker, wow, man, thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate the love and support and your very, very kind donation, mate. You didn't need to, but I really do appreciate it. He says, great work, Harry. I learned about you from your podcast with Arsblog. I think we need one more midfielder if Partey leaves. Yeah, exactly. We've got to see what happens with Thomas Partey as well, haven't we? Because that is up in the air at the moment. Thank you, mate, for your very kind donation. Really, really do appreciate it. Bilal with a stupid super chat, but a super chat nonetheless. So thank you for that, but I'm not going to read it out because it's stupid. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. I think I've got it out of my head a bit, out of my system a bit now. I told you I was sitting there mulling over this all day, and I felt, why not jump on a stream and share my viewpoints with you. So here I am doing exactly that. And yeah, it's just look, it's a really tough window for Arsenal, I think. Really tough window for Arsenal to navigate. Really tough one for Arsenal to come out on top in, because let's say that you sign, for instance, Sesko, Williams, and Zubimendi. All three of those players have been talked about for such a long time that you would think that people would be satisfied. But then you scratch underneath the surface a little bit and you look into it in more detail. And I have concerns about Zubimendi and how he's going to sort of manage the physical side of the Premier League. I think it's really important that we keep Thomas Partey to help him manage that transition. I have concerns about Nico Williams because, quite frankly, he's had a rubbish campaign by his standards, by the standards he set. And it's why they say you should never sign anyone off the back of an international tournament. It's a great point. And then Sesko, we're looking at him and we're going, well, though, that goal return is pretty underwhelming, isn't it? And are you actually much better than Kai Havertz? That's what I'm thinking. So I've got reservations around all of those signings. Now, the real needle-moving signings are the signings like Declan Rice, where we signed Declan Rice. I was buzzing. I was excited. I knew 100% without any shadow of a doubt that Declan Rice was going to improve us. That's a needle-moving signing. These signings could move the needle if they're the ones that we end up with, just based on the examples I've been rumbling on about. But there's going to be that uncertainty there because they don't have necessarily the track records that give you that belief or that confidence. And not only do they not have the track records, but as Arsenal fans and followers of the Premier League, predominantly, we don't have that knowledge base to be able to say, yeah, you know what, it's going to work. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me on this impromptu stream episode. Probably repeated myself 100 times on this episode. So forgive me for that. Took me a while to figure out how to do the comparison on the statistics page, but we got there in the end. Thank you for all your love and all your patience and for your very, very kind super chat donations. Let me know what you think. Do the signings of Sesko or Gyökeres and even Martin Zubimendi, do they guarantee a levelling up at Arsenal? Let me know your thoughts and your feelings on those players. And we'll see you all on the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a great day up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. Goodbye.